The Environmental Protection Agency has finalized renewable fuel standards for 2014, 2015, and 2016. The overall level of renewable fuel to be blended next year will be more than 18 billion gallons. That's below what was originally set in 2007, but above what the agency proposed in May. Nebraska is the second largest ethanol producer in the nation, behind Iowa. This state's industry supports the equivalent of 1,300 full-time jobs and averaged an annual production value of $5 billion over the last 3 years. Earlier this week, we talked with the University of Illinois ag economist Scott Irwin to get his thoughts on the EPA's final requirements.
Well, I think they were very interesting. They were quite close to my expectations. The ethanol came in for 2014 at 13.61 billion gallons, which I think was widely expected, technical adjustment. But what apparently surprised many was how aggressive the EPA was in adjusting upward the 2015 and 2016 ethanol mandates. 2015 went up to 14.05 billion gallons, and 2016 all the way up to 14.5 billion gallons.
What have been the challenges to reaching that initial 15 that they set a number of years ago?
Well, everything has revolved around the E10 blend wall, which means that there's 10% ethanol in the vast majority of the gasoline offered in the United States. And the standards, if you go up to 15 billion gallons, for example, that would be more ethanol than we can consume in the form of E10. And that's where the rub has been in terms of should we move forward and, in essence, force breaching of the E10 blend wall or not.
Do you think that the EPA does intend to get to that 15 billion at some point in time?
Yes, I do. Administrators have made a number of statements indicating that they want to, quote, get the RFS back on track. And after reading through the proposal yesterday and the kind of arguments that the EPA made in that proposal, the final rulemaking, I wouldn't be surprised if they went back to the 15 billion gallons in 2017, again, if market conditions seem favorable for that when they make the proposal next year.
What do we see in cellulosic in these proposals? Are we seeing the renewed push to still try and get this thing through?
There's certainly lots of words in the rulemaking document expressing support for the potential for cellulosic ethanol, but the volumes that are projected and then built into the cellulosic mandates are still minuscule. We're talking about in 2015, 4 million gallons of liquid cellulosic ethanol. And if the totals that are listed for the cellulosic mandates are in some ways a little misleading because about 90% of the cellulosic volumes that are reported are actually for biogas, not for what we'd call conventional liquid cellulosic ethanol.
You mentioned the last time we talked that you thought biodiesel could be a winner in this. Do you think it came out as one?
Absolutely. Biodiesel and renewable diesel, which both come under the heading of the biomass-based diesel category, definitely are in the catbird seat moving forward, at least for the next year or two. The big battle that's shaping up is for those gallons that are above the E10 blend wall. Will those be met with higher ethanol blends or biodiesel and renewable diesel? I think the EPA certainly came down on the side that in the short run it will be biodiesel and renewable diesel, and I agree with that. But as we look down the road, that's where we're going to see in a year, maybe two, as long as 3 years down the road, E85 could, with some time, become much more competitive and put a cap on some of the expansion of biodiesel. But until we get to that point, it looks like smooth sailing for that industry.
What do you think these volumes say about the clout of agriculture in biofuels?
My own personal view is that the history of the political battle over the RFS, where we are today, shows the continuing power and muscle of the ag lobby in Washington, D.C. The way I think, best illustrate that, Jeff, is if we go all the way back to 2 years ago when the EPA first made their original proposal for 2014. Basically, that proposal said we're just going to cut off the ethanol mandates at whatever the E10 blend wall is, and we just don't see much on the horizon reason to try to breach that to any significant degree. And if you projected that framework out through the current end of the RFS in 2022, you would get something around a 17 billion gallon total cut in the ethanol mandate between 2014 and 2022. Fast forward to today and the rulemaking that was released yesterday, what I think are the projected total cuts now are just a little over 2.2 billion gallons. I mean, that's a huge swing in fortunes in 2 years for the ag and biofuels sector.
Each year, the EPA is required by law to finalize renewable fuel standards for the following year by November 30th, meaning all of 2017's levels should be set by the end of November 2016.